This is the cheapest gaming PC I've ever built. It can run esports titles at over 70 frames per second, and surprisingly, it can even handle some AAA games fairly smoothly. And the best part? The entire system costs just $100. As you already know, PC hardware prices have been climbing fast lately. That's exactly why builds like this are becoming harder to ignore, especially if you're on a tight budget. By now, most of us are familiar with old Office PC. These pre-built Office machines actually make an excellent foundation for budget gaming builds. In fact, at this point, they've become something like a savior for anyone trying to build a cheap gaming PC. There are literally thousands of them listed on eBay in all kinds of configurations, and that's where I found this one, for just $48. For that price, I'm getting a Pentium G 3240 and 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM. To put that into perspective, 16 gigabytes of DDR3 alone can cost over $35 right now. So even though there were stronger configurations available, none of them came close to this value. That's why I went with this one. And here it is, the Dell Optiplex 7020. This was a very popular Office machine back around 2014. Over time, it was replaced by newer, more powerful generations, which explains why it's now widely available on the used market at extremely low prices. Before doing anything else, I want to inspect the exterior carefully. I'm checking for dents, cracks, or any signs of heavy impact during shipping. Honestly, it looks almost perfect. Alright, time to plug it in and power it on. Hopefully we won't run into any issues. Great, there's the Dell logo. It boots up on the first attempt, but something feels off. 5 minutes pass and it's still stuck on the Dell logo screen. That's definitely not normal. Let me restart it one more time, and this time it finally proceeds to boot. My guess is that the CMOS battery is weak. After many years of use, these batteries tend to lose charge. When that happens, the system can struggle with BIOS initialization, which sometimes leads to extremely slow startup behavior. It's not a major issue, but it's something I'll probably replace later. Now let's check the specs. We have 16 gigabytes of RAM running at 1333 megahertz, which is actually decent for DDR3. The CPU is a Pentium G 3240, a dual-core chip running at 3.1 gigahertz. In its current configuration, this system is clearly designed for light office tasks, web browsing, or simple media consumption. If we want this machine to handle modern games properly, we'll need to upgrade to a CPU with more cores and threads. And more importantly, we'll need to install a dedicated graphics card. So now it's time to start upgrading this PC. Let's start with the first and most important upgrade, the CPU. If we want to run modern games, we need at least a quad-core processor. Luckily, on the LGA 1150 platform, we still have quite a few solid options available on the used market. After testing a few chips, I narrowed it down to two choices, the i7-4790 and the Xeon E3-1241 V3. In terms of real-world gaming performance, these two CPUs are nearly identical. Both offer 4 cores and 8 threads, and both can handle esports titles and even some AAA game. However, the price difference is huge. Right now, the i7-4790 sells for around $36. Meanwhile, the Xeon E3-1241 V3 can be found for just $12. That price difference makes the decision very easy. The E3-1241 V3 comes with 4 cores, 8 threads, and a maximum boost clock of 3.9 gigahertz. One of its biggest advantages is the 8 megabytes of cache, which helps improve gaming smoothness. Of course, like many Xeon chips, it doesn't have integrated graphics. So if we want video output, we'll need a dedicated GPU, which brings us to the next upgrade, the graphics card. To handle games at 1080p, we technically have many powerful options available today, like the RTX 3060, RTX 3070, RX 6600, and other mid-range cards. But here's the problem. Those cards cost at least $100 or more, and more importantly, the power supply inside these office PCs is usually very limited. High-end GPU simply aren't realistic here. Since we're working with a very tight budget and limited case space, I need something small, efficient, and low power. That's why I'm choosing a low-profile card. Luckily, I already have an RX 552 GB. Even today, this card can still handle most esports titles at basic settings. Of course, when it comes to AAA game, the 2 GB of VRAM will definitely become a limitation. Some titles may struggle, especially at higher textures, but realistically, this system is meant for casual gaming and light entertainment. For that purpose, the RX 550 makes sense, and I picked it up for $33. Next, we need storage. A 500 GB drive should be more than enough for a build like this. Storage choice really depends on how many games you plan to install. I already have a Samsung 870 EVO 500 GB, so I'll be using that. One thing to note, SSD prices have been rising recently due to memory chip production cuts. I bought this drive for around $33, but it's more expensive now. With all the parts ready, it's time to install everything. After all the upgrades, the total cost of this PC comes out to roughly $123. And while I'm at it, I'm also replacing the old CMOS battery to avoid any future boot issues. Alright, the system powers on. Everything looks stable. Now it's time to see what this $100 gaming PC can really do. Let's start with CS2. I'm playing at 1080p on low settings. At this configuration, FPS stays between 70 and 80 frames per second, and during heavier gunfights, it can drop down to around 60 FPS. To maintain this level of performance, the GPU is running at full load almost the entire time. Even so, the system feels smooth overall, and there are no major frame drops or stuttering issues. For an esports title, this is absolutely playable. Next up is Fortnite. This time I'm using performance mode at 1080p FPS. Again, sits around 70 to 80 frames per second. However, GPU usage fluctuates a bit more here, which leads to occasional minor frame dips. Still, those drops don't significantly affect the overall experience. Since this build is meant for casual gaming, anything consistently above 60 frames per second is perfectly acceptable. And Fortnite runs just fine in that range. Now let's move on to Valorant, which is a much lighter title. At 1080p on low settings, FPS stays above 150 frames per second, and during intense fights it drops to around 120 FPS. The experience feels extremely smooth and stable. In fact, the GPU isn't even being pushed very hard here. For Valorant, this system handles everything effortlessly. Now let's test some AAA titles. Starting with Tomb Raider, a game known for being well optimized. At 1080p on normal settings, FPS fluctuates between 60 and 70 frames per second. In more detailed scenes, it dips slightly to around 56 frames per second, but there are no noticeable stutters or major drops. Overall, Tomb Raider runs surprisingly well and remains smooth and stable. Next is The Witcher 3. I'm playing at 1080p on low settings, and here we start to see the limits of this build. Frames per second averages around 19 frames per second, and during combat with heavy effects, frame drops become more noticeable. That said, for very casual play, it's technically playable, but clearly not ideal. And finally, let's test Minecraft. I'm starting at 1080p with 8 chunks. Here, performance is very impressive. Frames per second stays above 200, and in lighter scenes, it can even exceed 300 frames per second. To test stability, I triggered a TNT explosion. At that moment, FPS dropped to around 75 frames per second, but the system recovered quickly without any major stutter. And that's everything about this $120 gaming PC. It's not the most powerful system out there, but for casual gaming and light entertainment, it's absolutely a solid option for the price. Thanks for watching all the way through. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.